Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. We are in week 40 of year 2 and the 2.3 patch has just been deployed, which brings some interesting changes to the hunter as well as some weapon rebalances. I did a video on this yesterday, so click the image on screen or the link in the description box to learn more about these changes. But one of the highlights of that has been the increased damage to a lot of different supers, including Golden Gun. I was most anxious to check out the increased damage to Golden Gun during this week's Nightfall, especially since there's solar burn. And what are the results? Well, before we get into this week's activities, I did want to point out a few cool things that they also added in the 2.3 patch that we didn't know about yesterday. The first, which is new chroma colors. 3 new chroma colors have been added: orange, magenta, and green. These have a chance to be found in Sterling Treasures or from dismantling the Spectar gear set. So I went ahead and purchased a few Sterling Treasures just to show you the new colors. This is a cool little addition and it's nice to have even more colors to choose from for your Spectar armor. Here is an example of the green chroma on the Stolen Pride, and I think this looks pretty badass. I was also pleasantly surprised with the orange. I think it looks really great on a Titan. Although now I just wish the orange came with a flame animation instead. Next is a really nice quality of life improvement which should help those who keep missing the time-gated quests. The change is essentially that you no longer have to wait for certain days to complete quests that give you special exotics, which include No Time to Explain, the Sleeper Simulant, and the Black Spindle. You can now access the alternate endings to those missions by simply selecting the heroic difficulty from your director. The missions they mentioned in the patch notes were the Paradox mission as well as Lost to Light. The Firewall mission will now be available as soon as the player has turned in the required items to access it. This is a really nice improvement just to help those who don't have these guns to be able to get them before Rise of Iron comes out this fall. And lastly, there's a change to the way Varix decreases your points once he becomes impatient during the Challenge of the Elders. Essentially now, the point deduction now grows more severe the longer you are in a given section. The point deduction equals 50 times the number of times he has grown impatient. Now I think this is a really clever way of fixing the issue of having people just essentially stay inside all day, creating orbs of light for themselves. You're not going to notice this at first if you're simply just trying to reach like 45,000, let's say, because the point deductions are still going to be very negligible at the beginning. You're only going to notice them much later in. And if you wait long enough, it's going to multiply enough to where all of your points are going to be removed. So kudos to Bungie for finding a really elegant solution for the point farming. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the Challenge of the Elders for this week. Your modifiers include fresh troops, which the skull is missing for some reason. Then we have melee kill bonus and trickle. The big baddies for this week start with Kexus the Betrayed with his suppression bombs, Val Aruun with his 3 flare protectors, and the Seditious Mind with his area of effect bombs. I'm still a little unclear whether or not these challenges are curated with their modifiers. If they are, someone really must not like us for giving us trickle and melee bonus at the same time. But other than that, I found the most effective tactic was to use a sidearm, that way you can control how little damage you do to the enemies before finishing them off with a punch. And for boss DPS, I relied on a good scout rifle and a machine gun for the most part. This week's challenge was fine, I'm just not a fan of trickle. I think it's a little anti-fun. I don't really consider it a challenging modifier as much as I do an annoying one. This week's Nightfall is the Will of Crota, and the modifiers begin with Solar Burn, Specialist, Juggler, and Exposure. I had a lot of fun this week with the combination of Solar Burn and Specialist, and as you saw in the top of the video, I took out my Gunslinger for a test drive. And for the most part, a lot of the nerfs were not really that noticeable. Although the insane buff to Golden Gun was definitely noticeable. I took out a good 40% of Omnigul's health with the Celestial Nighthawk. And of course I'm a dummy that forgot there was exposure on, so I died immediately afterwards. But you can see I did 341,707 damage. That is absolutely insane, and it bodes really well for Gunslinger in PvE. And also without realizing it, I happened to nab the Grasp of Malak for the first time. The perks are sort of all over the place with Exhumed, Spray and Play, and Will of Light. I'm not big on pulse rifles right now, but I might go ahead and give this one a try. But anyways, I've been following E3 very closely to see if we get any new information about Rise of Iron. Design director Chris Barrett and Deej are at the event, so I'm interested to see if they drop any more delicious morsels of information for us. So what are your thoughts on the changes on the Hunter now that we've had a chance to play around with it? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Drop a like if you can, and subscribe for more Destiny content, and I will see you all next time. Without much warning, Bungie is releasing their 2.3 patch today, and with it comes a lot of interesting balance changes to the Hunter, as well as another small pass to weapon balancing.